Hi guys, this video is going to explain list filtering. So what I have here on AppLab is an app that when I run it, it will go ahead and I can click the Show Easy Random button and it will show some random password that I have categorized as easy. So this app is actually making use of a data set. If we go over to the data tab, we see this table passwords. And if we click the table, then we can see the full table. And on here, we have the rank, the password, category, value, time unit, and strength. So if you look at the more info, this data set is information about the most popular passwords on the internet and their security level. So the time unit is actually how long estimated time in either seconds, days, years, etc. it would take to crack the password. We also have strength, which 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest, as far as like how strong the password is. We have some other things like value, category, and the password itself, which is the actual text of the password, and the rank, which is the popularity, what is the most popular. So we see that rank number 1, the most popular password is password. And then followed by some simple alphanumeric. So we do have these categorized as well. So there's a lot of data here. What I did on this app is I simply just categorized the passwords that were easy. And I categorized easy as ones that would be able to be like figured out in time unit of either seconds or minutes. If it would take either seconds or minutes to figure out or crack your password, then I categorize that as easy. So notice that here, as many times as I click these, I will never actually see, like for example, password showing up here, because password is not going to take either seconds or minutes. It actually takes years to figure out the password. Again, this is because it is categorizing it not as far as like the time that somebody, like a human would probably test password first. But as far as like the computational time that it would take a computer to figure it out. So that's the categories, okay? Now let's look at the code that makes this happen. So I've actually just created 2 lists. One list of the passwords, which are the actual text of the password themselves, which is what's shown here on the app, and another list variable that is for time. And this is what I'm using to categorize it as either easy, or I can then continue this app further and extend it so that I can do this also for medium or hard passwords. So I have here a empty list of easy passwords, and this list is meant to store all of the passwords that are going to be categorized as easy. So I have a traversal here, right? So I'm going to go through the entire length of times. So I'm going to go through all of the time unit list, which again, the time unit list is just a list out of all of this column time unit. So I could add a watcher for times, and notice that when I run it, my times is all of those times, years, minutes, days. So for that entire list of passwords. So there's 500 different passwords that all have different times. And of course, I can add a watcher for passwords and see all the 500 different passwords themselves. Of course, these 2 lists are parallel, right? So the time sitting at index 0 is for the password sitting at index 0. And so when I go through and traverse through all of these times, what I want to do is figure out which of these times is either seconds or minutes. Because if it's seconds or minutes times, then that means that that password is an easy password. It would take relatively a computer a very quick amount of time to figure out. So I go through and traverse through the entire length of times. I have this variable current, which is going to hold each time one by one. Because of course, this traversal, the first time, index 0, it will look at the years. Then on the next iteration of I, it'll look at I of 1, which would be times at index 1 is minutes. So I'm going to look at, and current will just be whatever current time that I'm looking at. And if that time is either equal to seconds or that current time is equal to minutes, then I go ahead and I add that password to the easy password. Notice that I'm adding the password, not the times. Let me change this so that it is times. So now if I put times, then what I'm adding to this easy passwords filtered list is the time itself. So it will just add seconds and minutes. So if I run it, we can see that watcher now for easy passwords is just the time itself, right? So I don't want to add the times to the filtered list because of course I need the times so that I determine which ones are easy, which are categorized as seconds and minutes. But what I want to add to that list is the password itself, because the password itself is what I'm going to use to display over here. So if I reset and run, now you could see that instead of adding the time, which was seconds or minutes, I'm adding actually the password itself. So over here, I can click now show easy password, and it's going to show some random password from this now filtered list. So at the very beginning of the code, notice that this for loop is outside of the on event, which means that at the very beginning of the code, I create these two original lists, I create an empty list, and I use the traversal to add items to that empty list so that now that list is no longer empty and now holds all of the passwords that are categorized as easy. So how does the app then show the code? Well, that's because of the on event, right? So at the very beginning of the code, before the user even does anything, I created the list and I traversed through to add the items of the passwords that were easy. Then in the on event, when that button is clicked, that random button is clicked, I have this random index, which is going to be some random number between 0 and the easy passwords link -1. Remember, the link -1 is always referencing the last valid index. 0 is the first valid index. And I want a random index not for the original passwords, because the original passwords is like a list of 500, right? I don't want a random index from that because I'm not displaying a random value from the passwords original list. I want to display a random value from now the easy passwords that has been populated, which is 62. So I could instead here, instead of easy passwords dot link -1, I could put 62, right? But it's just better to use the link -1 to always reference the last index. This way it is always correct. And then I set the text. I set the text for this output to be an easy password. So it's from that list, but not the entire list itself, right? If I remove the square bracket here, right, then that would be the entire list. I can't on this one output put an entire list there. I want to just show one random one, which is the one that is being displayed here. So random index, every time that I click random, the random button, notice random index, if I play this a little bit slower, when I click it, it's 45. I click it again, now it was 55. I click it again, now it's 31. It's gonna pick a random one and then display on the output that random one. The reason why now it says not available is because technically, since I use var inside, random index is a local variable. So once that on event is done running, that variable is technically deleted. But since I'm just using it here locally in the on event, then it's fine for it to be a local variable. Okay. Now, what if I wanted to improve this app and allow now not only just to show the easy passwords, but also to show medium passwords or hard passwords? Well, all I would need to do here is very simple. All I would need to do is add 2 more variables. And I've already done the design elements, that way I could save time on the video, but we would still need now 2 more lists. one list that is going to store the medium passwords and one list that is now going to store the hard passwords. And very easily, I can now just update this code here because I already have the traversal that's going to go through the times. And current is going to hold each time one by one. So if the current is seconds or minutes, then I'm going to go ahead and add it to the easy passwords list. Otherwise, I can add an else if here. If current is, well, what's after minutes? So, and I can look at the data set itself. I could look at the passwords data set so that I could see that there's years, days, months, right, weeks, all of these different measures of time. So I would say medium, and the programmer decides this. I would say medium is maybe hours, or maybe if it's like days. And then if it's hours or days, then I want to go ahead and append. So I want to add those items to now my new list that I have created, the medium passwords list. And I want to add the password itself, not the time. I'm using the times to have the criteria, the condition, but what I want to add to the filtered list is the password itself. And then otherwise, and I could just keep it as otherwise, or I can add another else if, but I could just put an else. If it's not seconds or minutes, so I add it to the easy passwords, okay, then check if it's hours or days. If it's hours or days, then you're gonna add it to the medium passwords instead. And if it's not gonna add it to the easy password or to the medium password, then I will automatically add it to the hard passwords list. So now these three lists have all of the passwords stored in either medium, hard, or easy. And I have a typo here, passwords. Okay. So now when I run it, notice that our original passwords list is 500 elements. The easy passwords list is 62 elements. Then the medium passwords list is 281 elements. And the hard passwords list is 157 elements. And if we add 157 plus 281 plus 62, that'll be the 500. So now I would just add two more set texts, exactly like this one. I could just copy paste it twice. These are labeled password output 1. Oh no, it's just label 2 and label 4. I forgot to change the names, but that's okay. For the explanation video, I'll just leave it like that. And then now this one, I will want to make sure I also, because remember, random index, easy passwords is only 62, but the other ones are different length. So I would need random index for the medium passwords and a random index for the hard passwords because they're all different length. So I want to make sure that I use random index that is valid for that particular list because that's what I want to display on those. So now I click show random and I have a typo. Oh, easy passwords. Okay, you see this, I got this error. Why? Because a probably random index 1 is like maybe 157. But easy passwords only has 62 items. So I have a error here, a simple error. which I want to display on label 2 a random from the medium list, and for label 4, I want to display a random from the hard list. So now I click show random, and now we can see these are categorized as easy, these are categorized as medium, and these are categorized as hard. Okay. I can also continue and change this app in a different way. So rather than displaying stuff that's in different categories and having different lists, I can also just keep the password, but add some other information. So like if I look at the data, I have here also the category that it will be. So I can add to this list to not only show the password, but also add another label here to show the category. And I'm just going to call this category label to make it descriptive. And I will copy and duplicate this one. And this will be the category output. I'm going to call it cat output for short. Okay. So now I'm able to, of course, now I need the category column original. So I'm going to just copy this one and paste it and call this categories. Or I'm going to call it cats for short. I'm just trying to save time here. And then this would be for the category column. Now, my list here that I will need to not only filter out the easy passwords, but I've also added so that I can also categorize them as hard passwords. And I'm also going to need lists so that I can not only have the easy passwords, but also the easy category passwords and the hard category passwords. So in my if here, I can add a else so that if it's not easy, then automatically I will categorize it as hard. But just to make this a little bit better, as far as like actually making sense, I'm going to go ahead and categorize easy would be seconds, minutes, hours, or even days. It's really not that long. So if it's not seconds, minutes, hours, or days, then it would be hard. So if it takes like weeks or months, then we're categorizing that as hard. So I'm going to copy this so that now I can add them. If it's not seconds, minutes, hours, or days, then I'm going to go ahead and add that to the hard passwords list. And not only do I need to add the password, but I'm also adding a new information that I'm displaying, which is the category. So I not only need to append the password, but I also need to append the category. So I'm going to add an append here, but now for my easy cat passwords list, and I'm going to add the cat at index I. So from the original category list, cats, it's named cats, not cat. Cats, from the original categories list at index I, add that to the now filtered category. Same thing for the hard passwords, but instead it would be for the hard password category filtered list, but the same, the original cats at index I. Because if it finds an index where it is easy, then that's the one that we need to add to the filtered list. All right, so let's go ahead and test it out. So I run it, I click easy, I click hard. Hard doesn't do anything, easy works. Why? Well, this is going to filter it. right? And it filters it at the very beginning of the code. So even though I have my easy cat passwords, which has all of the categories for the easy, like alphanumeric, fluffy, animals, names, all of these, right? I haven't set text. And I only have one on event, which is why only this random button works. This other random button 1 does not work. And it only displayed to here because I only set text for the password output. I didn't set text for the cat output. So what I need to add is another set text. So I'm going to just copy this one. But rather than the password output, it being for the cat output. And rather than showing the easy password at random index, I need to show the easy cat password list at that random index. I do want to keep the same random index because remember, those two lists are parallel. So now I click run, easy password, and it now not only shows the password itself, but also the category. It's cut off here because in design, I probably need to make this a little bit longer so that it shows the whole thing. Okay. All right. So the hard password is still not working. Okay. This is because I need to go ahead and add an on event for that. Now the on event for that is going to be very similar to this one, so I can just copy paste it. That one I have named random button 1, which is less descriptive. Probably hard button would have been better, but that's okay. And now I want a random index, not from the easy passwords, but from the hard passwords list. And I want to show not a password from the easy one, but from the hard passwords. And same thing here for the category being hard. So reset run, easy works, and now also hard works as well. Okay, so hopefully this helps to understand list filtering. Bye, guys.